What's up, everyone? It's your host, Ghost, coming to you live with another wonderful video. How's everyone doing today? I'm doing great myself. Well, not really, but better than normal. Oh, some good coffee for once. Oh man, it's cold. Chilly morning today. All right, so we're gonna talk a little more on this the Israeli Hamas war. We're not gonna spend too much time on it, really. But I made some statements yesterday, and feel like I gotta talk about it today as well after getting some more information. And then President Trump is blaming his predecessor and successor for everything when it comes to the conflict. Well, he blames Biden's Iran policy, and since Biden's Iran policy is the same thing as Obama's, pretty much, he is blaming him as well. So we'll talk. I'll give some more thoughts on the Israeli-Hamas war, and then we'll talk about Trump. And then afterwards, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is now running as an independent. He's divorced himself from the Democratic Party and is launching an independent campaign. I'm not really surprised by this. I kind of saw it coming. Just because it was pretty obvious based on his takes on various things, that he and the Democratic Party were not going to be meshing well. So, hold on. Let me finish and then I'll say what I was about to say. So we'll look at that article, and I'll give my thoughts about Robert F. Kennedy, and then two individuals in BDSM gear decided to perform a sexual themed show in front of students of a high school. Apparently, this event also included a drag queen twerking for students. So, more weird shit going on to kids. At least this time, they're slightly older than, fucking beyond, young. At least they've hit puberty this time instead of being younger than puberty. And then for a palate cleanser, we're gonna just look at various YouTube shorts. I'll give my opinions on it. I got 2 of Candace Owens. And then there's one on adoption. There's another dealing with pasture slamming a woke school board. And then a woman talking about how to treat your man. And last but certainly not least, we're going to watch a video of Sam Witwer as he talks about The Last Jedi. If you don't know, Sam Witwer is the voice of, when it comes to Star Wars at least, he's the voice of Starkiller and Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, and I think Star Wars Rebels as well. Let me look that up real quick. Yeah, Star Wars Rebels too. And then if you've ever just, more there's more about him. He also played Deacon St. John. Deacon St. John in the game Days Gone. Yeah, Deacon St. John and Dean's Gone and Days Gone. If you're curious. But yeah, so we'll look at that. All right. So on to the Israeli-Hamas war. Yeah, I what I really want to say is, I was talking about how, terrorists going into and attacking innocent civilians is, repulsive and yeah. It's terrible, reprehensive, etc., etc. And it looks like now Israeli has responded basically, and they've bombed Gaza. I mean, it's not surprising, but I don't like it as well. I'm trying to be fair here. I'm trying to be fair. I saw a couple videos. I'm not going to play them just because they're really graphic and it bothers me, anyways. But I saw a couple videos of fathers holding their kids that have been killed due to bombing. And it really breaks my heart. It's like I'm sure everyone knows at this point. I have a daughter of my own. I have another one on the way. So anything with kids really upset me, and that was my complaint. That was what I was talking about with the terrorists attacking Israel. Is they were attacking unarmed civilians, attacking women, killing them, parading through the streets. Now we got Israel responding, bombing areas and got the Gaza Strip, and killing civilians as well. Like I said before, I understand, shit happens if you're bombing a military target, and they collateral damage happens, but it doesn't seem that's what happened. They're bombing like various areas. I don't even think they're military targets, which is wrong. It's wrong to do these things. Like, come on, Israel's are Jews, and they went through the Holocaust. They should be very, very I want to say sensitive, but sensitive is kind of the fucking word when it comes to bombing innocent people. So that it's in my opinion, it shouldn't have been a bombing. They should have gone in or at least fought off the terrorists in their own area and then gone in and but been more precise. Or if they're really going to bomb the Gaza Strip, they should ensure that they were precise in their targeting and only target military targets and use the bombs with the least amount of range when it comes to it. I don't know. But now it looks like Israel is promising a complete siege of the Gaza Strip. And I think it was the defense minister, and he's saying he would not allow food, water, electricity, or fuel to 2.3 million Gaza residents, half of them children. And also, a good amount of them are innocent people that just live in Gaza. So, it's just a terrible move. I understand it's war and everything like that, but you don't need to be punishing a few or the many for actions of a few. And I understand that what the Hamas did was horrible, and they targeted the civilians themselves, but you shouldn't target civilians in retaliation. Civilians are innocent unless they're acting on the behalf of the terrorist. So we'll get into this article right now. All right. For 16 years, a blockade has throttled the Gaza Strip, worsening a humanitarian crisis in this overcrowded, impoverished impoverished. I know the word. I apparently can't fucking say the word today. Impoverished enclave that Human Rights Watch calls an open air prison. On Monday, in response to the large scale deadly attack by Hamas, Israel announced its blockade would become what they call a full scale siege, allowing no food, water, electricity, or fuel to its 2.3 million residents, half of them children. So that's what, 1.15 million? Israel also started intensively bombing Gaza. Laila El-Haddad, 45, an author and Palestinian rights activist who lived in Gaza and is currently based near Baltimore, said the siege is tantamount to calling for the collective punishment of over 2 million citizens, describing it as morally repugnant and just frankly unbelievable. I agree. The Geneva Convention prohibits collective punishment. Hold on. Sorry, I'm just looking something up. All right. Well, I mean, the thing is Hamas hasn't signed the Geneva Convention, and let's see. I think in the Geneva Convention, it's just like an agreement to be, between. Let me just get the correct. They're basically laws of war. So it protects women or wounded and sick soldiers on land during war, protects wounded and sick and shipwrecked military personnel at sea during war, prisoners of war. It protects them, protects civilians, including those in occupied territory, humane treatment, and other things. But, I mean, the question is does, again, civilians, should definitely be out of the question, period, regardless. But I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not against. I'm completely against any attacks on civilian people. Period. Regardless, I don't care who they are. If they're civilians are not actively helping or assisting, then it's they should be left alone as as much as reasonably possible. But cutting off food, power, water, electricity fuel, I guess. But I mean, that's pure powers too. So yeah, obviously, yeah, food, water, electricity, or fuel. That's just wrong. Civilians and aid workers say daily life is already dire, and Israel's siege, coupled with devastating airstrikes, will make things even worse. As Palestinians, we always ask ourselves this question: how much worse can it get? El Haddad said, "We're seeing now that it definitely can get worse." Israel announced the complete siege 2 days after it came under a surprise attack from Hamas. The militant group that controls Gaza is classified as a terrorist organization by dozens of countries, including the United States. More than 900 people in Israel have been killed, according to the military, while the Palestinian Health Ministry has said at least 687 had been killed in Israeli airstrikes in Gaza and the West Bank. No electricity, no food, no water, no gas. It's all closed. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said in a video statement, adding that his military was fighting against human animals. Well, you could describe that to the Hamas. You can't describe that to civilians, Palestinian civilians. Okay. In telephone interview with NBC News, Israeli Defense Force spokesman Doron Spielman clarified that animals referred to Hamas fighters rather than civilians being ruled by them in Gaza. However, he acknowledged that the airstrikes, as well as cutting off basic supplies, could harm militants. Already, some 75,500 people, or 75,500 people, were sheltering in 64 schools built by UNRWA, the UN Relief Agency for Palestinian Refugees. The agency said in a rolling update as of 1:30 p.m. ET Monday, most of these schools were designated shelters, but 19 are not, and one was hit in an airstrike, it said. See, that's terrible. We are at war with Hamas with the knowledge that if we don't destroy them, they seek to destroy us, Spielman said. Sadly, there may be innocents that may be hurt or killed. Well, if you hit a non-military target like a school, yeah. The Gaza Strip is a tiny quotation mark shaped bit of land, twice the size of Washington, D.C., and is one of the most densely populated places in the world. Some 80% of its of its people are refugees. Half are children. Meanwhile, less than 4% of its water is drinkable, and its unemployment rate of 46% is worse in the world, according to UNICEF. Since 2007, when Hamas took control, it's been under land, sea, and air blockade by Israel, with which it shares a 32-mile border, in Egypt, which shares a 7-mile border to the south. If I remember correctly, also, Hamas was voted in. If I remember correctly, I could be absolutely wrong with that. I can't remember most of my history sometimes, but if I remember correct, that's how it went. Okay. Power lines from Israel provides most of the Gaza electricity. Everything it does generates itself. Everything it does generates itself comes via its own power plant that fed with Israeli diesel. Israel heavily restricts any imported materials it considers dual use, covering building material, agricultural equipment, medicine that Gazans say would be essential to rebuild their lives. Israel does this because it says these goods and people could be used to assist Hamas insurgency. Similar rationale has been given to the full-scale siege announced Monday. Meanwhile, the number of people allowed in and out have been reduced to trickles. Although last year Israel did grant 20,000 permits for Gazans to cross the border for work. I think nobody in sound mind would think Israel should be supplying electricity and fuel to Gaza at this time, when it would simply be used by their savages to plan attacks on Israel, Spielman, the IDF spokesman said. Again, clarifying savages refer to Hamas rather than Gazans as a whole. Palestinians living in Gaza say they have no doubt this will deteriorate their already dire situation. How many days will the Gazans and international humanitarian organizations be able to bear the collapse of these services, said Adan Abu Usana, who lives in Gaza and works as a media advisor with UNRWA. He and others were dismayed when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told Gazans to leave areas that might house Hamas militants, warning his Air Force would turn them to rubble. There's literally here's the thing. Okay, sorry. There's literally nowhere to seek refuge because we're completely shut off from the outside world, El Haddad said, which is why it was such a farcical comment. Yeah, like they got Israel to one side, Egypt to the south, and then the sea to I'm gonna say west. So I mean, there's really nowhere for them to evacuate. So it's kind of an asinine comment. I mean, it was basically a comment used to try and give them some goodwill. Like, hey, I warned them, and I gave them the most the best chance they had to leave the area. That's all that was. There's nowhere for them really to evacuate. Now this tactically, and we're just talking tactics, not right or wrong, but tactically, this is a very sound decision. Because you'll get compliance from a lot of the population after a bit because they're running out of food, water, electricity, fuel. So tactically, it's a sound decision. Is it the right decision? No, because I'm willing to bet of the not talking about the 1.25 million that are children, but the other 1.25 million that aren't, I'm sure 90% of them are just innocent civilians just trying to live. Now, the rationale is, it makes sense to me. I don't agree with it though. Again, and it makes sense to me in the sense of when it comes to war. And look, let's be honest. The reason this isn't a siege. Let's be honest. This isn't a siege. Okay. What this is preparation for an invasion. Israel's going to definitely, once they beat back all the militants in Israel, they're going to invade Gaza and take it over. Let's be honest. That's what's going to happen. I'm sorry. I'm just I just drifted off there. But yeah, let's be honest. It's this is a preface to an invasion. They're cutting all these things off to soften up the population, to get compliance, so they don't have as much of an issue when they go and invade later on. I guaranteed, and at least within the month, maybe at some point, Israel's going to invade. I don't know when. Depends on how long they want. It takes it. It really depends on how long it takes them to push people, to push the Hamas terrorists in their own country out, and then how long they decide they need to soften up the people in Gaza. So they're 100% going to invade Gaza, and then they'll earn some goodwill by hopefully improving the lives of Gazans by rebuilding everything, giving them better, better quality of life, et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to be used as a way to, get some goodwill. Like, hey, yeah, we did something terrible, but hey, look, we got some goodwill. For many people in Gaza, the material impoverishment is secondary to the emotional turmoil they feel themselves locked in. There is no tomorrow in Gaza. You can Hassan said, cannot predict what's going to happen. You cannot dream. So there we go. So, that's what's going on with the Hamas and Israeli conflict, war, however you want to call it. Yeah. Once more, I don't agree. Like, again, tactically, it's a very sound decision. It's a very sound decision tactically, but it doesn't make it right. Like I said, these are innocent people. As far as we know, the 1.25 million, I'm sure 90% are just innocent individuals. And I was listening to Fresh and Fit, and there's a man called the Satan Sinner, and they were talking about this stuff. And, Myron said something I kind of considered, but didn't really. But, I'm 50-50 on whether Mossad in particular knew what's going on. I can see both sides. I can see it actually being a literal surprise where, because a lot of when it comes to intelligence, you really need to be, lucky. And, they could have like say, hey, there's an attack coming at some point in the future. But, when do you mean in the future? There's no specific area where there's going to be an attack. You can't really predict that well. But so I can see that part of it where, hey, they knew about it, but they didn't know about it, because they didn't have specifics. They were caught off surprise, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was listening to Myron talk about it, and he was talking about how, or I guess it wasn't really, yeah. So Mossad, it was talking about how Mossad also could have just known about it and let it happen. And the reason for that is they would use it as an excuse for war. Like, for example, you get told, hey, these people are going to invade you. And they're like, well, if they invade us, we could, go and take this territory back. Because if I remember right, and I could be wrong 100%, I'm not perfect when it comes to these things. But if I remember right, the last time, or one of the times they were invaded by the other territory, they beat them back, re-invaded, and then after a bit, they had a treaty and gave it back. So, and I'm sure, and then, they've had to deal with these terrorists ever since. And I'm sure since then, they've been itching to have an excuse to come back and take the territory back again. So I could easily see that being the case. And that, and then this was just being used as a way to have an excuse to reinvade and take over the territory. I can see that, honestly. So I'm 50-50 on it. I can genuinely believe that they were caught off guard and were surprised. And I can also genuinely believe that they knew about it and just let it happen so they'd have an excuse to invade. I can see both. But all right. So Trump blames Biden's Iran policy for the Hamas attack on Israel. The former president bashed his successor and his predecessor, emphasizing Barack Obama's Arabic middle name Hussein in portraying Democrats as weak. And let's be honest, none of this would have happened if fucking Trump was still in charge. Let's be honest. America has a weak leader at the helm right now, and we had a strong leader in Trump. So if Trump was still in charge, So Bapon 0402. So Israeli fought a 6-day war against 3 Muslim countries and won in 1967, but could not stop Shiites on kites. What a piss poor military. Yeah. Like I said, I can see both sides. I can see them being surprised, but I could also easily see them, knowing about it and then just letting it happen. I really can see both sides. I could see them being surprised because a lot of times when it comes to intelligence, it's generally vague, and then they got to try and narrow it down at some point, and hopefully figure out, all right, this is what happened. This is what's going to happen. But it's probably actually far more plausible that they're like, oh, this is going to happen, and let's let this happen, and then we have an excuse to go and invade. So I could see it really happening, and I think the more I think about it, I'm leaning more towards they knew it was going to happen and used it as an excuse to go invade. Because don't get me wrong, they're invading 100%. They're going into Gaza, and they're taking it back or over, however you want to call it. Because, like I said, I think it might have been the 6-day war, or it could have been the Yom Kippur War, where they were attacked and they go and invade Gaza, and then after some point they in an agreement they gave it back. If I remember correctly, there's so many fucking wars I can't remember everything. But good comment, Bapon 0402. But again, my problem really with all this is just, the attacks on civilians. Military targets, I get it, it's part of the job, but civilian targets and them cutting off the power and everything like that. And again, it's just a way for them to soften up the Gazans, the Palestinians, however you want to fucking call them, so that when they invade, there's less resistance. It's tactically, it's a very good tactic, tactically speaking. Bapon 0402 says it's all about making Iran a central banking system. Could be. But let's be honest, this would never happen under Trump. Because Trump went and released like $6 billion to Iran for what? A couple random hostages? All right, anyways. Former President Donald Trump blamed President Joe Biden for I think NBC News is, let's see. If I remember correctly, NBC News has a habit of always referring to President Biden as Mr. Biden. So maybe they actually like him today. There's one news source that always refers to him as Mr. Biden, which is hilarious to me. All right. For this weekend's Hamas assault on Israel during Monday remarks to a crowd in a resort town of Wolfboro, New Hampshire. The war, in which Israel is now laying siege to Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip, happened for 3 reasons, Trump said. Iran reaping oil revenue from relaxed sanctions enforcement. Our country's perceived weakness during Biden's term. Yeah, that's 100% true. Bapon 0402 says South Korea and Cuba next, the last remaining countries without a central banking system. Hey, I'll take your word for it, my man. I haven't got to dive too much into that, but I'll take your word for it. Seem like a smart guy. If you're really smart, you'll give me a follow. Anyways, back to this. During Biden's term and the U.S. freeing up $6 billion in Iranian funds from humanitarian efforts as part of a prisoner swap, saying that Biden is laughed at all over the world, Trump pointed to his own sanction enforcement and unilateral withdrawal from the multinational Iran nuclear deal as evidence that he would be tougher on Iran if Americans elected him instead of Biden in 2024. At the same time, he portrayed Biden and his administration as being out of touch, noting that National Security Advisor said less than 2 weeks ago that the Middle East is quieter today than it has been in 2 decades. Well, I mean, not even counting what's just happening, I wouldn't have believed that at all. Biden's administration's Biden administration officials and Democrats have said that Iran accelerated its development of nuclear weapons during Trump's withdrew after Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Iran nuclear deal. Trump's imposition of sanctions also failed to curb Iran's development of its nuclear capabilities, and that none of the $6 billion in funds which are payments for oil purchases that belong to Iran, have been released. Okay, whatever. Senator Tammy Duckworth, Democrat of Illinois, a national co-chair of Biden's re-election campaign, pushed back on Trump. With each and every lie, Donald Trump further proves he's too dangerous to lead the United States on the world stage. Well, that's a dumb comment. Every politician fucking lies to get it as gets to the presidency. Biden fucking lied. So it's kind of comes with a job. You lie about promises. At least Trump, did a lot of what he said he was going to do. And that was a first. A lot of people were surprised by that when Trump became presidency. Everyone thought he was just going to be all talk and do the same thing, but he did. He didn't do everything he said he was going to do, and he did, some dumb things as well. But he did do a lot of the things he said he was going to do. So, but this is a dumb comment from Duckworth, who is a veteran and a member of the the Senate Armed Services Committee. Absolutely, House of Representatives control the funding of all wars. I was from Bob Pond 0402. Let's see. Made me lose my spot. Said in a statement released by the Biden campaign. The generals and other military leaders who served under Trump, those in a position to know, have repeatedly said he made our country less safe, not more. Well, that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. What are you fucking talking about? Like, our border is practically wide open for illegal immigrants to enter in whenever they choose to. That makes the country far less safe than where the fuck they're trying to claim that Trump did. And of course, in this statement, at least the quote that NBC took out. Yeah, taxpayers. Yeah, I agree. Taxpayers need to defund Congress. Bob Pond 0402. Or what we really need for Congress, honestly, is to set term limits, prevent insider trading, because that's where a lot of the fucking Congress people get their money, really. That's what we really need to do. We need to set term limits and say, hey, you can't insider trade at all. You cannot make money off of your decision, Congress, because they all do it, and they're all like, oh, we can legally do it too, blah 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 blah, or whatever they want to say. But no, that would be the biggest step, because you put term limits. Some of these old fuckers, like although now she's dead, but like Dianne Feinstein, who was 90 and ended up having to have a conservatorship over herself, wouldn't be in office. Like, how can you be under a conservatorship? Fucking hell. How can you be under that and still make decisions for everyday people? You can't make your own medical, legal decisions yourself. That makes no sense to me. And, people like Biden would have been yeah, exactly. See, Bob Pond 0402's got it right. Yeah, the military-aged males crossing the border by the thousands every day are not coming to do your laundry or lawns. Absolutely. They're not going to Home Depot and standing around waiting for you to pick up to help paint your house or something like that. Absolutely. And how do you fucking know those guys aren't terrorists as well? Not to mention the fentanyl that's coming over, the, other various drugs that's coming over. Like, seriously, like, this is just a dumb comment by the military, or whoever the fuck this said this. I'm assuming Duckworth is a chick. Yeah. So, yeah. So it would say if not more. She said, day in and day out, he continuously disrespects the veterans and service members who committed their lives to protect our fellow Americans. And we shouldn't take his disgusting, transparently self-serving comments as anything more than what they are, lies. Okay. The favorite for the Republican presidential nomination, Trump rhetoric aligns with most of the GOP candidates for president who have been quick to lay responsibility at Biden's feet. Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel said on Fox News this weekend that wars present a great opportunity for GOP candidates to draw a contrast with Biden. That's true. Absolutely. I'm just going to call you Bob Hahn. Absolutely. He says people coming here for a better life don't do it illegally. We welcome all legal immigrants. Absolutely. I'm all for legal immigration. I have no problem. I have no hate in my heart for any fucking person. But if you come over illegally, then get the fuck out and get deported. It's very, very fucking simple. There's thousands of immigrants that come into this country every day that do it legally. And here's the thing. We have a finite amount of space. If we got a bunch of illegal fuckers coming over, there's less room and less, space for people that actually want to come here that are legal to come here. Absolutely. I remember during the whole children in cages thing and AOC being elected, she was talking to either the director of Homeland Security or former director of Homeland Security. I can't fucking remember who he was. But at the time, they were talking about, this whole legal immigration, and they were talking about people seeking asylum. And she was like, they were talking about children's separation. And she's like, so you're all for separating children. And the former or current, whatever his name was, I can't even remember his name. I think Holman or whatever. The person she was talking to, he said, it's like when I arrested people back in Chicago, I separated him from his family. If I arrested a drug dealer, when I separated him from his child. There's, every day we separate parents from their children. Shout out to Mary VL for the follow. Appreciate the follow. He was talking about how, when I arrested a criminal in the country, I separated her from I separated him from his children. And then AOC goes, legal asylees seeking asylums is legal. And then he goes, it's like, if you're going to seek asylum, do it legally at a port of entry. And then she was completely silenced. I love that fucking clip. It was so fucking funny. Bob Hahn says, why are the Republican DAs not bringing charges against Hunter and Joe Biden like the left is doing to Trump? Well, there's a multitude of probably reasons. One, they're trying to take their time in doing it, make sure it's done right, not half-assed like a lot of these all of the charges that Trump is facing. Because let's be honest, they're all half-assed. They're not really well thought of. That could be one reason. Another reason, it's the same old we don't prosecute enemy type bullshit. I don't know. And two, I really don't understand. I think I'm trying to be positive here, but they're trying to take their time and make sure it's done right. And then that whole McCarthy House Speaker ousting kind of happened, kind of put everything on hold. So that's my hope. I really don't see anything coming out of it. Yeah, exactly, Bob. Good guys finish last. I agree. They always finish last. I think the biggest problem with the Republican Party is they don't have much of a follow through. They talk a big game, but when it comes to actually following through, they, they trip over themselves. They don't have a good follow through. So, they aim for the target and then they miss it because their follow through shit. That's why a lot of people like Trump is when he said he was going to do something, there's a far higher probability he was actually going to fucking do it. And that's why a lot of people like Trump. And it's clear a lot of people like Trump. He's 54.7% ahead or in the polls right now. Behind him is DeSantis, but behind him is Vivek Ramaswamy. But it's also why people like DeSantis, and is because he seems to have, in Florida at least, he has a pretty good follow through. He does what he says, and he doesn't really cower behind it. I really hope the Uniparty certified a questionable election in 2020. Of course he did. I mean, Pennsylvania disregarded their own constitution to accept mail-in ballots, I believe it was. Anyways, their constitution said do it one thing. I can't remember exactly what it is. And then they did it. They didn't do the way. Pennsylvania didn't do it that way. And all of a sudden, yeah, of course, most are still in Congress. People are fucking idiots. American voters are fucking idiots. They don't pay that much attention. And anyways, Pennsylvania's constitution said do it this way, and they do it a completely other way. And in all honesty, it's fucking Republicans' fault. They had 2 years in Congress. Like they had both Congress and Senate for 2 years of Trump's presidency. They should have passed voter ID. That's what he should have done. They should have passed voter ID. But they don't have a good follow through. That's the problem with the Republican Party. All right, here we go. Multi-pronged attack. The multi-pronged attack was carried out primarily by Hamas, a group that the U.S. has designated terrorist organization, which gained control of the Palestinian-controlled Gaza Strip after winning an election there in 2006. Hamas is a long-time recipient of support from Iran, and former U.S. officials say the attack bears hallmarks of an Iran-backed mission. Well, I mean, just so happened Biden gave him $6 billion or something like that. Oh, and again, Bob Pond, with your comment, most are still in Congress. It's why we need fucking term limits. We have term limits on a president, but not on the Congress members. And we deal with Congress members far more. We have to deal with we face repercussions of congressmen far more often than we do of a president, since they pass the fucking laws. The Biden administration condemned the attacks, maintains sanctions against Hamas, and has promised to provide aid to Israel. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said the Pentagon is moving an aircraft carrier strike group and warplanes closer to Israel to show support for the American ally. Bob Pond says 3 questionable elections in a row proves we have a selection. We have a selection on elections. I wish we did. A lot of that would help if we had voter ID, in my opinion. If we had voter ID, a lot of issues people have with elections would kind of be mute. But we don't have a way to really have much confidence in our election system, because the way a lot of it works, like in some places, if you move from one place to another, that other place can still end up getting a mail-in ballot because it's your old address under your name. So, and there's no way to verify. Like I remember watching Steven Crowder, and it was just after the election, and he was talking. He was talking with Nevada. Speaking of which, guess who just started streaming? He sent Dave Land down to Nevada, and they looked at, because the voter registries or whatever is all It's public information. So he looked at the addresses, and he went to the addresses, and like pretty much every address he like at least the section that he had, all the ones he went to ended up not being real addresses. And then Crowder Alive called I don't know, some voter register person and was explaining to him, hey, there's people that are registered in areas that aren't actual places. And it ended up with the guy saying, like, well, there's nothing we can really do about it now. So that's what we do. All right. The U.S. officials told NBC News on Monday that the deployment of those forces was also intended to send an explicit message to Iran to stand down, specifically when it comes to any considerations by Tehran of unleashing the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah against northern Israel. During his remarks Monday, Trump repeatedly portrayed Biden as the central actor in a crooked family criminal enterprise, despite a lack of evidence that Biden has committed any crime, and conversely, as mentally incapacitated, dumb as a rock, and a puppet of former President Barack Obama. Yeah, that's absolutely fucking true. Despite a lack of evidence that Biden has committed a crime. Okay, maybe you're not paying attention, NBC writer. But he's definitely mentally incapacitated, or at least senile. That's pretty fucking obvious. Emphasizing Obama's middle name, Trump said that problems underlying the war in Israel were caused, by my opinion, by his boss, Barack Hussein Obama. That's fine. People voted in voter ID in many states, and liberal judges have blocked the people's voices. What happens to the majority rules? Well, we have a system of check and balances, and when you vote for something, you got to have the balance of judges, the judiciary court that says, hey, that's unconstitutional or something like that. It's a dumb it's dumb. Not the check and balance is dumb, but I don't know what states and what the judges actually said. I'm assuming the judges said this is unconstitutional. Well, that happened, and then they got to go to the appellate court, and then eventually it's got to go to the Supreme Court. And so eventually what's got to happen is it's got to go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will have to do it. But I'm assuming what these liberal judges said was because those same other states will block it was race. Oh yeah, I forgot. That's the common fucking saying. See, no, it's not racist. Liberal judges are fucking racist. Like, you don't think black people, Hispanic people, whatever fucking people that you're trying to claim, mostly it's black and Hispanics, but I think mostly it's black. You don't think they can get an ID? Like, and in a lot of the states that do have voter IDs, it's fucking free. Or like the fee is very low. It's free or very low at most. I think the average is like $5 or $20. I can't fucking remember. But yeah, it's so dumb. It's not racist. Like, look, you know who it's going to be far more difficult to get a voter ID than anywhere else? It's people in the country, farmers, because a lot of DMVs, DOLs, they're in urban areas. Where do a lot of black people congregate? Urban areas. Like, voter ID makes no sense. It's what is it called? It's the what's it called? Something low expectations. Hold on. I got the term on the tip of my tongue. The soft bigotry of low expectations. That's what I fucking call it. I can't remember. But yeah, they think so low of these people that they can't get an ID, a voter ID. That's insane to me. because they would need an ID to buy a gun. They would need an ID to purchase alcohol, cigarettes, etc., etc. You're telling me they can get all the information they need for a driver's license, but they couldn't get the information they need for a voter ID. It makes zero sense to me. It's just a bigotry of the soft bigotry of low expectations. They think black people. And I'll say black people because that's generally who they're really talking about. They're talking about black people because they'll mention Hispanics, but what they're really talking about is black people. But they think these people, black people can't get. No, black people are intelligent. They can go to the DOL and get an ID. They took the time to do it when they needed a driver's license to buy, alcohol, cigarettes, guns, whatever the fuck it is. But they couldn't do it to be able to vote. And it's hilarious too, because you know who the people are that want voter ID the most, the population? It's black and Hispanics. Why? Because they want their fucking vote to count. You need okay. Bob Pond says you need an ID to apply for EBT cards. I didn't know that. I've never had to get one, but there you go. So look, the argument doesn't make any sense to me. But that's because I'm an actual person that actually believes in people. Liberal or leftist people aren't. All right, get back to this. Both in his speech and on his Truth Social account, Trump wondered about the possibility that terrorist attacks could be launched on U.S. soil. Look, never mind. He's gonna fucking say it. Never mind. The same people that raided Israel are pouring into our once beautiful USA through a total open southern border at record numbers, he wrote. Are they planning an attack within our country? Crooked Joe Biden and his boss, Barack Hussein Obama, did this to us. Abso-fucking-lutely. A senior U.S. official who's familiar with the area said this claim was false. How is it false? While the exact number of people crossing the U.S. southern border who may have ties to Hamas remain classified. I don't think Trump was specifically talking about Hamas. I think he was talking about terrorists in fucking general. I doubt he's specifically worried about Hamas. I think he's worried about terrorists in general. Remains classified. The official said the idea that Hamas is pouring across the border or has increased its number recently is demonstrably false. Again, I doubt he was really thinking about Hamas. I think he was, talking about terrorists in general. But apparently Jonathan Allen's a fucking idiot. Trump made little secret of his broader disdain for Biden, accusing the president, again without evidence, of marshaling prosecution against him. Well, come on, that's pretty fucking obvious at this point. Trump, who faces 4 separate trials in federal and state court, said explicitly that his situation would justify him using the power of presidency to go after political adversaries. That means I could do it if I win, he said. Yeah, absolutely. We used to have, not an agreement, but a quiet agreement that, that incoming presidents didn't go after, and no one went after an outgoing president. I mean, look through our history. How many presidents have been brought up on any fucking charges on anything? And keep in mind, during campaigns, they would say they lie, they're a crook, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just keep all of that in mind. No DA, nothing. There was a soft agreement, a quiet agreement that we don't prosecute our political adversaries. Bob Pond says people have become comfortably numb. They don't realize they are IRS slaves and social welfare slaves. Don't pay your taxes to your masters in the government and see if you remain free. Oh, absolutely. If you don't pay your taxes, you're fucked. And taxation is theft, 100%. Taxation is dumb. So especially like things like property tax. There should be only one tax, and that should be, what was it? There was a term for it, but basically just like what you buy. So sales tax, that should be the only really tax. You could run the whole fucking, you survive, the economy could survive with just doing sales tax. Is it revenue tax? I can't remember the term. There's a specific term. I think it's revenue tax or what, not revenue, whatever. But basically, the taxes you pay are from when you go and buy things. That's what it basically is, and that's what the only tax should be. Not a death tax. If you die, you get taxed. So your kids can't get their full inheritance because God forbid the government doesn't profit after you die. There's property taxes. God forbid you buy a place and you got to pay the government just to live there. What the fuck is a property tax? I live here. I bought this place. Why am I being taxed on it? I fucking hate taxes. Taxes fucking suck. That's why Trump was awesome. He cut taxes down. All right, so palate cleanser. Now we're gonna get off, the whole Israel conflict and shit. We're gonna talk about other things. I didn't realize I shared this. Need to share this. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ends Democratic presidential bid, launches independent campaign. I saw this coming. Yep, 16th Amendment says the government can tax capital gains and nothing else. Yeah, and then Congress made a bunch of other laws, but not amendments, other laws that let them tax a bunch of other shit. All right. So Robert F. Kennedy is now going to be an independent. If anyone listened to anything Robert F. Kennedy has said, this shouldn't be a surprise. I barely listened to this guy. But the few clips I've seen of him, it was pretty fucking obvious he was going to switch to be an independent. It was pretty obvious. The scion of Democrats' first family said he intends to spoil the election for Joe Biden and Donald Trump with a populist assault on the two-party system. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. declared his independence from Democratic Party on Monday in Philadelphia, ending his campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination and launching an independent bid that he said aims to heal the political divide, which he portrays as a fiction of a corrupt establishment. I intend to wrest the reins of power from both parties and give it to the American people, he said, comparing Republicans and Democrats to teenagers fighting over the steering wheel of an out-of-control car, both following a GPS-routed program by lobbyists. This hatred we have for each other is orchestrated, Kennedy said. Switching to medieval metaphors, my job is to unify Americans. Then we're all going to go over the castle walls together. Kennedy has struggled to gain traction in the Democratic primaries. Yeah, because Democrats have gone so fucking far left that it's that unless you're insane, you can't really win a Democratic primary. There's very, very rare rational people in the Democratic Party. There's also a lot of idiots in the Republican Party. Don't get me wrong. In Democratic primaries, even with voters expressing a desire that someone younger take the party banner from President Joe Biden. Well, it's because you don't have the same views as the Democratic Party, Rob. His views are issues like vaccines and abortion has left him outside the Democratic mainstream. Absolutely. A crowd of about 1,000 turned out on a sunny fall day to hear Kennedy speak in front of Independence Hall, where the Declaration of Independence was signed. Some wore suits and ties, others wore homemade Kennedy t-shirts, hats, and buttons, and at least one custom-made cape. One sign read, "I want Camelot," a reference to the mythologized Kennedy dynasty. There have been anti-establishment candidates before, but none of them who actually understand how to get the job done. This time, the independent is going to win. Kennedy said the time is right, citing the growing proportion of Americans who tell pollsters they're fed up with both parties. I agree with that. 63% say Republicans and Democrats do such a poor job of representing Americans that a third major party is needed, according to New Galem's survey. Still, Kennedy faces long odds. Yeah. The best performing independent presidential candidate in the past century, Ross Perot, in 92, won just 19% of the popular vote, which translates to 0 electoral college's votes, because the winner of each state collects all the votes that actually determine who wins the White House. Given that reality, Democrats are worried a third candidate on the ballot would be a spoiler for Biden. Though poll shows Republicans like Kennedy more than Democrats do. 3/4 of Americans believe Biden is too old to govern. Effectively, Kennedy said before noting that former President Donald Trump, the likely GOP nominee, faces multiple criminal indictments. Well, in all fairness, most of his indictments are federal. And he just put in a plea of presidential immunity on the Georgia state election one. And that one, he basically, presidential immunity. And that one is definitely going to get struck down. They'll appeal it. It's going to take forever, 16 years, however long, before it gets to the Supreme Court to actually rule on it. And I'm willing to bet the Supreme Court's going to rule in Trump's favor on that. So a lot of those federal charges are probably going to end up being dismissed. And the few criminal ones, I think at most he's looking at a fine. Like, I don't even think he's looking at anything real bad. Maybe the New York one, but that New York one's bullshit. That's a misdemeanor they turned into a felony. And also, if Trump wins the White House, he could just pardon himself. Like, there's nothing stopping him from pardoning himself for federal crimes. The only thing he can't pardon himself on is impeachment. My intention is to spoil it for both of them, Kennedy said. Kennedy, the scion of the first family of Democratic politics, said it's very painful for him to leave the party of his uncles. One was the president, another was a senator. His father, a former attorney general and senator. His grandfather, an ambassador. His great-grandfathers. One was a mayor and a congressman. Another was a city council member. And break with their political dynasty. Well, the Democratic Party now is not the same as it was when all these Kennedys were alive. The rest of the Kennedy family, most of whom remain committed Democrats, have been generally critical of Bobby's campaign. But he took time to mention the names of several Kennedys and Shrivers who were in attendance. In a statement, 4 of the most prominent and politically active members of the Kennedy family condemned his decision to run against Biden. Bobby might share the same name as our father, but he does not share the same values, visions, or judgment. Oh, please. Please. Today's announcement is deeply saddening for us. We denounce his candidacy and believe it's more perilous for our country, said Rob Kerry and former Representative Joe Kennedy, along with Kathleen Kennedy Towson. But Kennedy said the break was necessary because Democrats have lost their way, and because being free of any party is the only way to overcome the totalizing tribalism of contemporary politics and the paralysis it has wrought. Kennedy launches his campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination in April in Boston, a place associated with his famous family. But he chose different symbolism for Monday's announcement, which was made in front of a large banner that read Kennedy 24, Declare Your Independence. Okay. He said he and his populist movement that defies left-right divisions were declaring independence from corporations, Wall Street polluters, and polarizing politics. At times seemed to echo Trump saying he's breaking from the mercenary media that is here to fortify all the corporate orthodoxies from their advertisers. It's going to be very hard for people to tell if my administration is right or left. Is it right or left to support small farmers? Is it right or left to pull our country back from the brink of war with Russia? Is it right or left to totally secure electoral systems where we'll know every vote will count? As long as we're locked in these habitual debates, the two parties are often blind to common sense solutions, like voter ID. And Kennedy, who has wrestled with the media and other fact-based institutions for decades over his conspiracy theories about vaccines and technologies, took aim at the media for, he claimed, undercounting his prospects and sowing political division. Pointing to Kennedy's views on China, the environment, and other issues, Trump campaign spokesperson Stephen Chuang said voters should not be deceived by anyone who pretends to have conservative values. The fact that RFK has a disturbing political steeped in radical liberal positions. Kennedy's announcement that he would be independent of any party also put to rest speculations he would join the Libertarian Party, whose chairperson met in this summer, or the Green Party, who Democrats blame in part for spoiling 2016 election. That means next year's general election ballot may be overcrowded. In addition to the two majority party candidates, the two from the establishment third parties, two well-known independents are running. Kennedy and the philosopher Cornel West. I have no idea who the fuck that is. Who, as well as possible additions to the centrist no-label candidates, still get on the ballot in 50 states is a tall order without the help of a party. With more than a year to go, several candidates may end their bids before Election Day. All right, so there we go. Kennedy's going to be an independent, completely independent, which, cool. No one's really surprised by this, honestly. Although some of the things I've heard him say, I like and agree with. I don't think, one, he'll get the bid, or one, he'll be elected, and two, he may be a good leader. Unfortunately, he will be perceived as weak. He has, what does he have? He has like a neurological condition. He has this thing called spasmodic dystophian, whatever. And he makes his voice sound. Hold on. I don't want to watch like a full fucking thing. All right, hold on. So this is Robert F. Kennedy's voice. Okay, what the hell? Okay, so there's one of these fucking things. All right, it's just gonna be difficult. All right, whatever. Hold on 1 second. Okay, there we go. So I'm not going to really harp on this. I just want, so this is what his voice is.
Making a lot of my income doing public speaking, and I could speak to large halls without any amplification. And then in 1990.
All right, so that's his voice. Now, obviously the guy's has a neurological or disorder. It doesn't really affect him mentally or anything like that. It just causes his voice to sound like that. And it sounds to me like a perpetual, oh, I'm about to cry. If you're about to cry, you have that voice. And that's what it basically sounds like to me. And unfortunately, I don't see that transitioning into strong leader perception. And again, I like what he says. A lot of things I see, I agree with, or he seems intelligent. But unfortunately, the perception is counts for a lot. And I don't think a lot of voters are going to listen to this guy speak and think, regardless of what he says, thinks he's going to end up being a good president. I just don't think it's going to happen. And that's unfortunate. But, hey, you got the cards that you can deal with. Because I gotta admit, I'd hit a couple of I'd see a couple clips of him and him speaking, and the second he started talking, I just skipped right through a lot of the times. And I'm like, this guy has nothing to say. He's weak because of his voice. And then I actually listened. I was like, all right, I agree with some of the things he's saying. He makes a lot of sense, but that initial thing, and that's unfortunate for him. But it is what it is. What can you do? All right, on to more things. So, at Oak Grover High School, there was an event. Two individuals performed a sexual themed show in BDSM gear in front of students. This event also included a drag queen twerking. I don't understand this shit at all. So let's watch this. And of course, the best pep rally to ever exist. So here he is. He's basically doing a lap dance on this dude. What the fuck? Here's the drag queen, apparently. How is this in school? Even a high school? What the fuck, people? Like, how is this okay to be in a high school? Well, even a high school. You got fucking weirdos. Look, no, I'm going to keep it. You got fucking weirdos wearing, doing a lap dance in PDSM gear. And then I think the guy looked like he was dressed in a Batman costume. I could be wrong. That's what it looked like to me. And he gets a lap dance from this weirdo. And I'm only saying weirdo, honestly, because he's doing it in front of kids. That's what really makes him the weirdo, honestly. And then he takes him by his leash and walks him off the fucking stage, basically. It's so weird. Why is this in school? How is that anything to do with a pep rally? What is it? Fucking Weirdo Appreciation Month or some shit like that? I don't get this. I remember when I was in school, pep rallies were cheerleaders, people, the student body pretending to be very, enthusiastic about being in school and shit. That's what I remember from pep rallies, not some weirdo lap dancing another weirdo in a Batman costume. I don't fucking get this at all. It makes no sense. This is why you should get out of public schools and start homeschooling your kids. Okay, that's what you need to do. So, guys, you got to up your money to ensure that you can have your wife stay at home and homeschool your kid. It's what you need to do, because that's what you're sending your kid to, where weirdos can go and lap dance in front of your kid. Like, what the fuck? All right, here we go. So from that weirdness, we got some more palate cleansers. I got a couple of shorts I'm going to look at. So we got Candace Owens. And yeah, we're just gonna watch the video of Candace Owens talking to this guy. All right, let's go.
Homophobic and transphobic rhetoric and rants just for
Hold on.
your demented homophobic and transphobic rhetoric and rants just further prove our point that we have to fight loudly to be respected. The reason that LGBTQIA plus rates are so high in this country, it's because there are people like you who make us feel like we don't belong.
That's a lie.
Okay, is there a question in there or a speech? Yes. You got to ask a question, buddy.
How do you think other people with your beliefs respond to the fact that your hateful and harmful rhetoric costs the lives of queer children every single day, on average, every 45 seconds?
Okay, so this is just going to be a pure boogeyman. You're pretending that someone committed suicide because of Candace Owens. You've got no facts here. I sat down with a man named Walt Heyer who was convinced to chop his penis off after your community told him that there was something wrong with him because he had confusion. Why was he trans? Because he was molested when he was 4 years old by his uncle. Rather than being sat down and spoken to by a psychologist, he was handed hormone pills, and he eventually chopped off his penis. Suicide rates go up after they transition. And Candace Owens wasn't the one that chopped their dicks off.
All right, so yeah, there we go. I don't think that's really accurate. Suicide rates don't go up. Unless it's changed since I last looked at it, and it's been a while. If I remember correctly, suicide rates, they don't get much better. They're still I think it's 40% or 50% or something like that. They're still, I think it's 50%. Anyways, they don't get much better. They may be they might drop a percentage or two. They don't really get that much better.
Demented homophobic
I had something else, but I can't remember what he said.
Rants just further prove our point that we have to fight loudly to be respected. The reason that
no, you don't really have to fight loudly to get respect. Honestly, a lot of people don't give a shit about you. A lot of people starting to give a shit when it started to affect our kids, like you wanting to go into bathrooms that may involve children going into them as well and seeing your ass. Most people do not give a fuck about the trans community. I'm just going to talk about the trans community because I really don't think lesbian or the gay community and the LGB community. All right. Take the T off. I don't really think they like trans people that much. I generally don't think they do. So I'm just going to talk about the trans people. But even then, for most trans people, a lot of people don't give a fuck about you until you start trying to force your beliefs on us. You try to make us use the pronouns that you want to use. We're not going to use your pronouns, okay? We're going to use what we perceive you as. If you're a Blair White, you look like a chick from the outside. You sound like a chick and all that shit. If I remember right, Blair White sounds like a chick. But if I look at you and I think you're a girl, based on how you look, I'm going to think you're a chick. If you're some dude with a full-on beard and eyeshadow, at most, I'm going to think you're gay, but I'm not going to think you're a chick. Okay? So that's what's going to happen. We perceive people how we perceive them, and we'll designate people how we perceive them. So if you look like a chick, we're going to think you're a chick. If you look like a dude, we're going to think like you're a dude. But you got all these fucking people that half-ass this shit. And they're just dudes with full-on beards and eyeshadow with long hair and saying they're a chick. No, you're not. You're a dude with a beard. You're a dude that likes wearing makeup. That's what you are. But this is what I'm talking about. He's like, you're the reason we got to be loud. No, if you're quiet and left our kids alone, most of us would just be like, whatever. I think most people say, I agree with this idea that once you're 18, however you decide you want to live your life, do it. I don't care. As long as you don't bother me. I will think you're weird and everything. I'll be like, all right, this is a weirdo. But I really will not give a fuck. I really won't give a fuck what you do with your life. I just really don't. And I don't think anyone really cares. We only start caring when you start to try and attack us for what we believe, or force us to use your pronouns that you prefer, or try to mess with our kids. We really don't give a fuck about you, honestly. And which actually segues great into my next clip that I have of Candace Owens. And it makes me laugh. I'm not a giant fan of Candace Owens, but this fucking made me laugh.
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who feel actively victimized by your presence here?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant. Next question.
I love that. I've seen this 100 times and I fucking love it. It's like, life's tough. Get a helmet. I'm too pregnant for this shit. She's like 8 or 9 months pregnant at this point, or close to that. When you're pregnant, you don't give a shit. You're just like, dude, I'm tired. I'm on my feet. I just want to lay down and go to bed. So I want to watch it again because it makes me laugh every time I see it.
I can't be your mommy. Okay? I'm too pregnant. I can't be your mommy.
As a non-binary person, what do you have to tell me about my identity? Because I know for a fact I'm not confused.
Okay. Next question. Great statement.
It's like, she's just like, dude, I don't give a shit.
That's a statement. You know your identity. You're not confused. Congratulations, sweetheart.
Controversial person. If you think you're non-binary and there's only 2 genders, I would say you are confused. But I also, again, don't give a shit.
What do you have to say to the trans
I want to watch this again because it makes me laugh every time.
students on this campus who feel actively victimized by your presence here?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant for this.
Life's tough. Get a helmet. I'm too fucking pregnant. It's basically my daily attitude on this shit. It's like, look, life sucks. Life's tough. No one has to accept you who you are. Get a helmet if you really are sensitive about it. Fuck off. All right. So, and again, I don't really agree with, it's probably less I don't agree. I don't really like Candace Owens. I can't really explain why. I just don't really vibe with her. But she can be funny some fucking times. And that's okay. All right, here we go. So there's this thing. It has to do with adoption.
Say you want to adopt kids, what guy is going to want to raise someone else's kids?
Bro, I'm so sick of this narrative. My biological mom had me when she was 14 years old until my 2 white parents adopted me, and they would do anything for me. And they're really the only reason I'm still alive today. I should be dead. I should be in abortion. So to make such an ignorant statement insinuating that your parents love you more or something because you came out of your mom's and I didn't come out of mine. I know people with 2 biological parents that don't give a about them. And I know the way he's putting it, like, it's not that deep, but it's that deep for me, man.
No, it's not that. Look, here's the thing. There's also hold on, what do you say?
To adopt kids, what guy is going
I'm not gonna listen. Oh, hold on. He says something here. Hold on. And okay, so he says there, I know someone with 2 biological parents that don't give a fuck about them. That may be 100% true. There are also plenty of adopted people that adopt people that don't give a fuck about them. You can say it on both sides. It's a very bad pause I made there, but it's fine. And it's not that your mom loves you more whether you come out of her vagina or not. There's just a deep-rooted connection. Look, I have a kid of my own, okay? I have another one on the way. There is a vast, and look, I don't say this in a way that says, hold on. I don't say this in a way that says, that is saying, what am I trying to do? That because you're adopted, you're not loved any more or less. But there's a difference that people don't understand when it comes to giving birth to someone and adopting someone. There's a deep-rooted connection with the mother and the child. Now, that doesn't always, do anything to facilitate a good relationship, but there is a big difference between the two. When you have someone that's growing inside you, you feel every, you feel every kick that you got in them. You feel them growing, you feel them moving, everything. There's a deep rooted connection between those 2 people for the rest of their lives. And it is what it is. And here's the thing. Hold on. And if you don't know, Sneeko, Pearl, they're red pill people. So I don't know the full clip of this, not what he's redirected to. And again, the quotes are adopted kids love less. No, they're not. But there's like I said, there's a different. I don't know how to explain it. There's a different connection again. There's just a different connection between the two. The three people actually, because there's a connection with someone that you were responsible for creating, and then someone you just took on. And again, it doesn't mean adopted kids are loved any less. It doesn't mean anything like that. It doesn't mean that you're less valuable just because you're adopted or anything like that. And I always see this comment when it comes to these things like, oh, well, when it comes to adoption, your parents chose to have you. Well, with birth, it's kind of the same way because in half the states, abortion is legal, and before Roe v. Wade was overturned, adoption was legal everywhere, or abortion was legal everywhere. So your biological parents also chose to have you as well. They chose not to murder you. So that argument doesn't make any sense. But what he's saying there is just because I didn't come out of it's not about that you're loved less. It's about the connection between those two people. Now, if they go and voluntarily choose to adopt someone, it doesn't mean they love you any less than a biological parent would, but the connection between you two is gonna be completely different. And it is what it is. It's just it's a biological thing. And it is what it is. I saw that and I just wanted to comment on it. Oh, okay, here we go.
Hello, Navarro.
So this is a pastor who is at a school board meeting and is reading educational material blatantly from the book, and just see how the school board reacts.
Any good lately? What's wrong, Navarro? I think you like a big in your mouth. Ha ha ha. Page 23. The other boy, page 23.
So if you didn't hear what school board said, that's inappropriate. It's in the fucking library kids can check out, like in the school library. If it's inappropriate for a school board, it's inappropriate for kids.
Here it is. What's the educational benefit of talking about what's the educational benefit of talking about that? Is that going to help someone on the SAT score?
No.
Hear me kind. Get a shot at that. She can care less. That's a sign. She needs to put down her sign.
See, he calls them out on their bullshit and then he gets removed. This is happening across all school boards. That's why a lot of school board people need to be removed and replaced with people that understand they need to be intelligent and stop fucking with people, with parents.
Oh, you're putting me out. For what?
I don't think you should be able to ask someone to leave if it's a school board. I really don't. All he did was read from, if it'd be one thing if he just comes in screaming, cussing, all that shit. But what he did was read specifically from educational literature in libraries. And he's getting kicked out for it.
For asking you to abide by the rules, a board member held up a sign, but the audience couldn't hold up signs. This is tyranny, and we're dealing with a corrupt government system.
See, what these parents need to do is get together and oust these school board members. These parents need to oust these school board members. Or just take your kids out of public school, put them in private or homeschool. That's what you should do. Okay? Stop taking your kids into indoctrination camps. That's what public schools are now. They don't give a fuck about your kids. They want to indoctrinate the next generation. All right. So, A man treats her like a queen because she does this. Now, this is something a lot of women don't understand when it comes to men. So,
If you want to be treated like a queen, treat your man like a king. It's really that simple.
yeah.
Example, my man is coming back from a week-long work trip. I'm on my way to the airport right now to pick him up in his truck that I got detailed for him with.
That's very sweet. A lot of see. Oh no, let me finish this. Hold on.
Flowers, breakfast, and coffee. It is really that simple. It is the little things that count. On top of loving them, respecting them, sleeping with them, treat your man like a king, you'll get treated like a queen. He'll forever love you. He'll forever respect you. He won't cheat on you.
This is what men want. And I know that a lot of women have a hard time hearing this because they always want the man to be doing more for her than she is for him. Because that power dynamic feels safe. But ladies, this is how as a woman, you can get what you want. If you're willing to reciprocate and sometimes give first because somebody has to go first. If you can do this, you're going to stand out from most women today. Trust me.
If you want.
Here's the thing she doesn't understand. Most guys have to do first. Most guys have to invest first. We got to be charming. We got to be, present a good front, charming, competent, a leader. We got to have money, some status, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We invest first. Guys always have to invest in the woman first. It's how it goes. All right. We ask you on the date. We pay for the date. We make sure we have a good time on the date. We make sure you enjoy the date. And hopefully at the end, we get some sex. Here's the thing. After that, the sex, you need to start investing. That's what the problem with a lot of women is. They don't like to invest in their man. They want everything for just existing. And that's because there's a lot of simps out there that will give women stuff without being given anything in return. They'll invest in women without getting anything in return. They'll praise them. They'll buy them things. They'll do whatever they want and get nothing in return. And that's the problem. What's the problem with a lot of the culture nowadays is women don't generally invest in a man. This woman here, she gets his truck detailed. Sweet. Flowers. Meh. Guys don't really like flowers. A blowjob would be better than flowers. Let's be honest. Guys don't give a shit about flowers. Like, come on. Chicks like flowers. But the thought counts. It's the thought that counts. Breakfast, coffee, perfect. Wonderful. But it's little things like that, just, and it's not really the thing itself. It's the investment. Most guys go through life without being given half of what this chick's doing. They don't get any investment in return for what they've invested. And that's what relationships are. They're investments with hopefully some return at the end. It's, at first it's sex, then it's, little things. Oh, you'll spend time with me. Oh, you'll, give me sex, whatever the fuck it is. Well, I already said sex, but, the thing what women don't really get is after you've had sex with the guy, you need to start investing him in return if you want anything, if you want queen-like treatment from the right guy, the guy that you actually going to give a fuck about. Because you can do nothing and get queen-like treatment from some, loser fucking bum that doesn't have anything going for him, or obviously I don't know this couple personally, but clearly if the guy's being sent off to do work, he's doing something right. He's probably making decent money. She probably doesn't have to work that much, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Especially if she has time to take off, even if she does work or just go and pick him up from the airport. Clearly he's doing something right. And there's very few of those guys out there that are doing it right, that will take care of you and everything. But guys like that require women to invest back into them. And that's what women don't do. They don't invest in the guy that they're with. They just expect, I'm here, I'm a chick, treat me like a queen. And in all honesty, it's not the girl's fault. It's not women's fault. Because like I said, there's a lot of simps out there that will do that, take care, that will treat women like queens without getting anything in return. So I think something like this should be spread out a lot more. I think women need to understand, hey, you got to invest in this, the guy that you really like. Because if you're not, you're going to end up getting dropped. And she did say something that was kind of funny. She's saying, you won't get cheated on. Maybe, maybe not, depending on the guy, really. You could still do all these things and still get cheated on. The difference is when a guy is cheating on you with another chick, he's just looking to get his dick wet. He doesn't give a fuck about you. Okay? Guys don't really cheat. They exercise options. And the thing is it's just different for us guys. We'll fuck a chick. We can fuck a chick and not give a fuck about her. All right? We could hate a chick with all our hearts, but we'll still fuck her if she's hot enough. The chick we really care about is the one we invest our time, energy, out, and everything like that. We'll take care of her. We'll protect her. We'll provide for her. We'll give her security. Those are the chicks we actually give a fuck. The chick that's just getting our dick wet, she's going to be left on the street and we don't give a fuck about her. So what chick don't understand? But I also agree with her that what's more likely to happen is this is a guy of high value and everything like that. He'll be inclined to cheat less, I think, is really the goal for for some of these women. And again, this is a guy that's high value and everything like that, what the red bill says and everything. But, a guy like, this guy here, he probably isn't going to cheat. He's probably just a regular blue collar guy, but he makes a good living because blue collar workers can make a good wage depending on what they do. So he probably won't cheat. But I just saw that and heard that and laughed. But yeah, definitely. Ladies, invest in your guy. It's not that hard. All right. So we got through a bunch of trans shit, pedo school boards, relationship shit. Now we're going to get some nerdy shit going on. And this is Sam Witwer. Like I said, he's the voice of Maul in the Clone Wars and the Rebels. He's also Deacon St. John from Days Gone, the video game.
What are you doing? Okay, I'm going to try to be as honest, but also diplomatic as possible.
No, be raw, Sam Witwer.
My point of view is when you take a beloved character and fundamentally change that character between stories, if you fundamentally change that character off screen, then at that point, you invite people to disagree with you. There are people that I've talked to who needed to see that version of Luke Skywalker. Perfect.
Those are people who don't understand the characteristics of Luke Skywalker, FYI. People who needed to see Luke Skywalker in Last Jedi are people who didn't understand Luke Skywalker in the beginning. Sam Witwer, on the other hand, understands Luke Skywalker, and he's about to prove it. He's trying to be diplomatic because he wants to be in more Star Wars stuff. Let's be honest.
Perfectly legitimate. But you know what also?
That's why he's being diplomatic, by the way. He wants to be in more Star Wars stuff, so he's being diplomatic. But he also has an opinion.
Also is legitimate. People who say, this is the guy who saved Darth Vader. Yeah. Darth Vader. And I always felt that Luke Skywalker was
the epitome of not giving up. Yeah.
And then Kylo Ren, who's like, I don't know who I am. And Luke's like, yeah, man, he's lost. I don't know. I've got to go and hang out. I've got to find the first Jedi temple so I can hang out and die.
Yeah.
Last thing we saw was a guy who had the level of compassion that it would take to throw down his weapon in front of his mortal enemy and declare, I'm not going to fight anyone. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try to be.
See, that's the thing. That's why Luke Skywalker of Last Jedi and Last Jedi film, like, here's what I think about the sequel trilogy. The Force Awakens shit, but it was a mulligan. People were willing to give it a pass. Because it's a new Star Wars film. They got to establish a universe. It's probably going to be shit. Okay? So, The Force Awakens, it's mulligan. Last Jedi, you fucked everyone. Well, also in The Force Awakens, you fucked, Han Solo, which is why a lot of people hate it as well. But you can give it a lot of rational people. Well, most people, most Star Wars fans would give The Force Awakens a mulligan, even though they fucked it up. I'll take this off, actually. Because it was new Star Wars. Even though you fucked Han Solo, he was, in the books, he's a dedicated family member. He cares about his family. He'll do anything for his family. etc., 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 fucking etc. And then Last Jedi comes, and you fucked Luke Skywalker. And that's the biggest complaint on The Last Jedi, was that you had Luke Skywalker, the man who faced the epitome of evil in Vader, and still believed he could redeem him. He still was like, yo, look, this guy is evil. This guy is evil. He's a horrible human being. He kills Jedi, he slaughters people, no fucks given. I can still save him. And then, was it 20, 30 years later, however the timeline is, his nephew, a guy and here's the thing, he didn't really know Vader as his father at all. Like, he didn't have any connection with him. Vader was Vader became Vader shortly before Luke was born, and didn't know Luke at all. He didn't, Luke didn't grow up with him. He didn't, understand who he was or anything. He had no sort of connection, and still was like, I could save him. Now, 30 years later, his nephew, someone he actually did grow up with, he actually spent time with, he actually trained and everything like that. He looks into his mind and sees there's a path he may happen. Oh, he's not savable. I can't save him. It's completely different people. And that's why people hate The Last Jedi. Because you just rewrote one of the greatest men of the Jedi Order, who had compassion above else and believed everyone could be saved. Or there's a chance of saving everyone. Mara Jade, his wife. Woman that went out of her way to try and kill him, and was actually force suggested or whatever it was to kill him, still believed in her and eventually married her. Okay. And like, if you look through the books and looked at Luke's history, he's always made an attempt to save someone. It didn't even seem like with Kylo Ren he attempted to save him at all. He was like, oh, Snoke's infecting him. Must kill. Oh, wait. And that's the biggest problem with Luke and The Last Jedi. And that's why the sequel trilogy is trash. They just destroyed these characters we loved and enjoyed to make way for their own characters. And those characters were poorly written, by the way. So there we go. My little nerd rant. I don't really talk about nerdy stuff. I don't really have an opportunity to, but I saw this and I was like, I got to talk about this. Sequel trilogy is trash. Disney Star Wars is pretty much trash at this point. Anyways. All right. I think I had a good stream. I'm almost at 2 hours. That was a pretty good stream to me. I appreciate, again, shout out to Mary VL for the follow. And then B.A. Ponson. What the fuck? Hold on. Sorry. Shut it down before I finished. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. And then shout out for a BA Pond 0402. I hope you'll eventually give me a follow. I don't see a follow from you. Maybe you do. I don't know. But shout out to you. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate the discussion we had. And, again, give me a follow if you see this later. Mine's going blank. But okay. I didn't even have my banner going this entire fucking. I keep forgetting about this stupid banner. I guess it's not that important. Well, whatever. Follow me on X at officialwghost. I am affiliate with Coffee Brand Coffee. There's my referral link there and the coupon code as well. If you want to use that, the links are in the description that you can use. Help you out there. Coffee Brand Coffee is a delicious coffee company. They have a variety of flavors of coffee. They have French toast, which is my personal favorite, classics from light to dark roast, and varieties in between. They have tea if you're a tea drinker, various teas, and then hot chocolate. Fall is here, winter is coming, to quote Ned Stark. So if you want something nice and hot, but you don't like tea or coffee, there's hot cocoa. And then they also have snacks, mostly nuts and saltwater taffy. But yeah, so check out Coffee Brand Coffee. Use those referral links and the coupon code. If you do a subscription, you can't get you can't use the coupon code, but still use that referral link. You won't get the if you use the referral code or the coupon code, you get 5% off. Please use the referral code just to give me the credit for your sale. Yeah. And then, of course, give me a follow here on With Ghost. But also check out my gaming channel, Gaming with Ghost. It's rumble.com/gaming with Ghost. That link is also in the description. Check me out there as well. I am currently playing Assassin's Creed Mirage. I may be playing it later today. I have yet to decide. But if you follow me at official W Ghost, you will get the link, or you'll get notified when I am going live. All right. I hope you all have a good day. Peace out. See you later. And make sure you like and follow. Peace.